What's going on, people, and welcome to Man Knows Football. I'm trying to be consistent. This is my second video in a row, and I know you guys are not really used to seeing me as often as you used to, but please bear with me. I'm trying to work around my work schedule because I have missed this massively. I have missed it. I've missed interacting with you guys, and obviously with fantastic guests such as Younes, and obviously stay tuned for more. You get me? But first and foremost, most important question of the day. Yeah, Younes, how are you doing, bruv?
I'm good, man. Yeah, firstly, it's good to have you back on here properly. Very nice to see, man. And obviously, aside from Chelsea, which we'll get into, I'm very well. Everything's lush and let's say very positive. But Chelsea or not?
No. I mean, I've been away for a few months now. Much needed hiatus that was taken. I feel fresh. I feel ready to come back. But it's like I said in my previous video. That does not mean that I haven't been suffering alongside Chelsea fans. That doesn't mean I haven't been watching content. I've been watching a lot of your stuff. Obviously, you've been collaborating a lot more with Johnny Minerals now, which is very, very nice to see. You know, a lot of you might know that myself and Johnny had some personal differences. Well, not personal, but we had our differences, you get me? But he's somebody that I've said, and I'll continue to say, that he was right from the beginning. And as a man, sometimes you just got to own it. The man had foresight and he saw it before the majority of us. And now his rants have actually come into fruition. So fair play to Johnny. But obviously, before we get into today's content, I need to ask you guys to help me get back on that ladder. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Also, leave your comments down there. Let us know what you think of today's chat. Any points you agree with, any points that you disagree with, let us know down there. So, today's topics, we're going to discuss, obviously, the FA Cup 5th round, a cup that we are still in. Carabao Cup trauma is still hitting me. And we're also going to be discussing the managerial choices if Mauricio Pochettino does get sacked at the end of the season, which I have a strong feeling that he will. As you can see down there, underneath, it's the choice apparently between Amorim, De Zerbi, Inzaghi, or Thomas Frank. But before we get into that interesting piece of news, let's talk about today's FA Cup 5th round. Younes, a chance for redemption, I have heard on social media. A bigger cup than the Carabao Cup, despite the disappointment and the utter embarrassment that we had to face against Liverpool's Premier League 2 team by the time the game was over. So, the FA Cup 5th round, my first question actually, it's not necessarily going to be game related. It's more going to be staff related. If we win this FA Cup, 2 questions. Number 1, do you think it is enough for Mauricio Pochettino to save his job and be given another chance next season at Chelsea Football Club? Or, despite him winning the FA Cup, do you still think he needs to be walked out the door?
We won't win the FA Cup. And you know what? Some people are not going to like that. But look, if we'd won the Carabao Cup, we could start talking about winning the FA Cup. But what went wrong during that final shows we won't win the FA Cup. We ain't got what it takes.
Absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
We ain't got it. And you look at the teams that are still involved in the competition, you know. If it's not tonight, it will be somewhere along the line where the task will be too big and we'll get picked apart because we've just not got it to be able to get over the line when it matters most. We went into that Carabao Cup final, well, I'm not going to swear, but crapping ourselves. And you could see that. You could see mentality was all over the place. Despite, you could say in the context of the game, for the first hour, we were very much in it, 100%. But my own personal opinion, I said it on the watch along, as the game was going on, when it started hitting minutes 70 to 80, I was saying, I don't like this. I don't like this, of where this is going. And then in extra time, we didn't even show up. So when it matters most, we're not there. You need that to win the FA Cup. It's the FA Cup. You know, some people are going to say, but the FA Cup has been won by teams that no one thought would win it. Yeah, because they had the one thing that I've just mentioned. Yeah, I mean, even though they didn't have the quality, but they had the one thing I've just mentioned. We've not got that. So, respectfully, tonight's not going to be easy.
No,
Even tonight, Leeds, this is not going to be easy. They're not Middlesbrough.
absolutely.
So, look, respectfully, to answer the question, no, regardless, it's failed. Pochettino, who I believe is a byproduct of what's wrong at Chelsea. Don't think it's all him, but he's part of the reason, and it's why we've hired someone like him to why we're in this situation in the first place. But I don't think he survived anyway.
Well,
no matter what, I don't think he survives.
Me personally, I'd have to agree with that. Even if by some miraculous occasion that we do win this FA Cup, I still think that he should be moved on. I mean, he shot himself enough in the foot for us to see that he's definitely not the man to take us to a vision that us fans want, that we want, obviously, which is to be challenging for titles and attracting the best players. You know, that's what Chelsea Football Club is about. Although our ownership, our recruitment team, and our manager hasn't really shown us that at all. But you're absolutely right. We do have to think about, tonight, about this for this FA Cup. Leeds are no mugs. That's what I will definitely say. Although they are currently second in the Championship, as it stands, it is currently enough to get them back in the Premier League. However, their form looks very, very good, especially in the Championship. They've won their last 6 games on the trot. Something that we can only dream of at Chelsea Football Club here to do in the Premier League. And the way things are going, I don't even think we'd do that in the Championship. That's how bad we've been. I wish I was joking, people. I honestly wish I was joking. But we are at home tonight at Stamford Bridge. Leeds do have quite a few threats on their team still. Wilfred Gnonto, also Somerville. I forget his first name is a bit complicated, so I'm not gonna just butcher that on here. And it's really about, we don't know how the team is gonna bounce back after such a humiliating defeat against Liverpool.
Exactly.
And what they need to show today, whether these players are good enough to stay at Chelsea Football Club or not, they need to show some personal pride, because whether they're going to stay at the club or whether they're going to go elsewhere, they still need to show that they're capable of showing up against an opposition that, let's have it right, that we should be beating. But I worry. I'm seriously worried. We should be sitting here saying, oh, you know what, we should be going through to the next round, etc., etc. But we're at a stage where any team that we're going to be coming up against, whether it's Premier League, whether it's Championship, or whoever it may be facing, I still have my doubts. This is the current situation that we're in. And, to win a trophy for us would be great. It would be fantastic in terms of mentality. The first crop of, Chelsea players that started that reign of success that we had, their first win was the Carabao Cup. I say this a lot. Well, the League Cup, as it was called back then, or the Carling Cup, if you're old enough to remember. But those crop of players, they all said that
the Worthington Cup, the milk. So we go further.
We can go further. But those crop of players, the one thing that they said that's always stuck with me is that once they got their first piece of success, they didn't want to let it go, and that really spurred them on to be winning the more major trophies, your Premier Leagues, your Champions Leagues, and so on and so forth. So, a cup win is very important, but it's sad, Younes. We're just, I don't see it happening. We're going to finish another season trophyless, another season outside of Europe, man. Where do we go from here, Younes?
Bro, it's a mess, man. It's so bad, just in terms of where we're heading. It's crazy when you hear rival fans telling us, not just for the sake of it, like it's got to the point where they're not even bantering anymore. They're just going, it's past banter. We can't banter because we've done that, and you guys are so far down that banter's not even going to be funny. Like, it's just, even they're going, look, this is going to get worse. The way you lot are moving, this is going to get worse.
Yep.
And it's hard to disagree. To end up, look, going into this game tonight, it's the worst possible game I think we could have so soon after that cup final that we lost, in the way that we lost it. The circumstances, I don't feel like could have been worse. I would rather play City tonight than a team like Leeds.
Facts.
And some people will be baffled at that. But I'll explain. Because against Man City, there isn't really much of a case to try and motivate yourself for. It's Man City. Do you know what I mean? But having lost against Liverpool in the way that we did, against their players, half of their academy team, and all of that, and the circumstances, how we let it go in those last 2 minutes of extra time, to only 3 days later have to play in what is the fiercest rivalry in probably in FA Cup history. You know what I mean? Chelsea Leeds is renowned. Now, why I'm mentioning that is because unlike Chelsea versus Man City, where Man City would look at us and go, we're bigger than them, we can pick them apart. Leeds are coming like, this is that one chance we got, guys. It's Chelsea. You know? And they got fire coming to the bridge tonight. You best believe 5,000 Leeds fans. Their team are playing really well. They're unbeaten in 2024. They're unbeaten in 6. So they've won 6 in a row. They drew before that and then had another win. Well, just a run of wins. They've been playing really good under Daniel Farke. They just beat Leicester, who are top of the league. They've done the home and away double on them. They're in a good place. And they've got Premier League quality players that they had when they were in the Premier League. Like you've mentioned, a couple of them already. They've got those lads. You could argue they don't really belong in the Championship as it stands right now. They will be promoted the way that they're moving. They will be playing Premier League football next year. So they're definitely not on the same crop like we were talking about Middlesbrough. That was, that's a Championship team.
Yeah.
With Leeds, this isn't the case. And there's so much more added onto the fixture that has significance as to why Chelsea need to be right here, which I know we're not. We're just not. You best believe a lot of these players are shot after having lost that final in the way that we did. And all the fans are disconnected, man.
Yeah.
It's not even a case of being angry now. There's just loads of fans that are disconnected. They just don't have a connection with the football club anymore.
Yeah, it's sad to see. It's sad to see. I mean, I've said, many times on other streams that I've been fortunate enough to feature on that. I'll never stop loving Chelsea and I'll never stop watching Chelsea regardless of putting myself through the pain and my eyes bleeding through some of the performances that I'm seeing. But I've actually said, like, I'm at a point where I'm not even enjoying Premier League football no more. I swear it's that painful. It's that painful. But going into this,
just hold that real quick. It's mad. I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans say this. They don't watch Match of the Day anymore.
Oh, I don't. I haven't watched it for such a long time. I don't remember the last time I watched Match of the Day.
Understandably, I mean, you're in the US, so you'd have to make the time to go and find it and all that. Like people are just watching BBC One. Oh, Match of the Day's on. Turn it over. Don't want to watch. Like it's that deep. Match of the Day used to be a staple. Like no matter what, even if we lost a game, like no matter what. Now it's like I don't even want to bother.
I thought I was the only one because even
many.
Even though me being in the US, I was able to catch it through legal means. Yeah, don't sue me, BBC. Through legal means, I was able to watch Match of the Day. But it's just like you said, I don't even put it on, man. I can't stand the analysis because it's true. I can't stand the criticism because it's painful. Like we're really suffering. And going into this game today, one thing that I noticed against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final was that massive void of leadership. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Ben Chilwell, he's one of the senior players. He has a little bit of leadership about him. Me personally, you can be as senior as you want, but if you do not have natural leadership qualities about you, then you're... Sorry about that, people. Just had a bit of technical difficulties, but we are back. What I was saying, I was talking about leadership, and I was actually talking about Ben Chilwell. Now, it's like I said, you can be as senior as you want, but if you don't have leadership qualities within you, then you're never going to be a leader. And that's not a dig at Ben Chilwell and his footballing ability, although that's a different conversation altogether for me. We missed that massively, and we saw just the disorganization, the absolute fear, like you said, against Liverpool. Today, we can't afford to have that. Absolutely not. We can't afford to have that. Now, for some reason, this player has become a bit of a divisive figure in the Chelsea fan base recently, and he goes by the name of Thiago Silva. But one thing that we definitely cannot deny is that when he's in the squad, there is a bit of leadership about him. Granted, he makes mistakes. Yes, he does. Every single player does make mistakes. And we also have to respect the fact that this man is 40 years old. And it says more about the club than it says about the player, by the way. But especially in a game like this, as high stakes as it is, and, you know, with the amount of history and rivalry in this game, and like you said, Leeds are not coming here just to participate. They're coming here to actually do us damage. We need a calming presence within this team. And I think Thiago Silva definitely needs to be starting the game today. What do you think?
You know, the leadership thing, you're completely right. He's the only one that actually has what it takes to be deemed a proper leader. It's bonkers that we're having to do that with someone who's close to 40 years old. And that's just the reality of it. The thing is, especially after yesterday and what came out, well, now we're not surprised, are we? In terms of why does this team have no leadership or this club have no leadership? It's because we're completely data-driven.
Yep.
And that's just something you can't measure. It's as simple as that. You can't measure mentality. You can't measure. There's no metric to determine leadership. You know, what are you going to get? Expected shouts per game? Or like, but you can't measure that. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're looking at all the metrics that we use now, everything's completely, all the decisions based on data. The things that cannot be measured by data are the things that we are missing. We're missing leadership. We're missing mentality. We're missing players staying fit. You know, like, again, you can't measure when an injury is going to show up.
Yep.
Not something that data is going to tell you. You can track injury records and try and have precaution, but there's things that we're just not paying attention to. So it's no surprise that we're lacking leadership because we're completely basing all our decisions on data. And Thiago Silva, for me, is probably a game where he needs to play. I do agree. He should feature. I don't think he will, though.
I don't think so either. Now, many Chelsea fans, and you know,
It's
I
no
don't
surprise.
I don't necessarily think they're wrong in what they're saying, but a lot of Chelsea fans are saying things that, you know, when we play Thiago Silva, it's a bit of a bottleneck at times because it restricts how we play, especially in terms of when we want to push a little bit further on and, you know, sustain an attack, because Thiago Silva apparently is a liability playing in the back four, and we feel the pain when he's in there. And, you know, whether that's true or not, again, that's a different conversation. But I just feel like his leadership, like I said, is massively missed. And just based on what we saw in the previous game, I cannot trust the team to go out and put in a performance without a level-headed leader who's been and who's done it. And unfortunately, I agree with you. You know, things have come out recently about Thiago Silva's future. Look, we never knew. We always knew that he wasn't going to stay beyond this season. But I just find the timing interesting because, you know, his wife put out a tweet, something that was very true and a lot of us resonated with. And, you know, that apparently kind of landed him in a bit of hot water indirectly because of what his wife said. We haven't really seen him feature. And I strongly believe that it's tied between the two. So,
Yep.
It's sad, this situation that we're in. But in terms of expectations, because I know, Younes, you don't have too much time, and neither do I. In terms of the end result of this game, it's a very hard one for me to predict, because whatever result that comes, it wouldn't surprise me. But it kills me to say I'm leaning towards us drawing this game and there being a replay.
There won't be a replay. It has to be sorted.
It
has to be sorted tonight. It has to be sorted tonight.
And that will be even worse for us. We already done, you know, extra time. Oh man, I don't know. I don't know the turnout, bro. I don't know how this is going to end.
No, this is like for the first time yesterday. I couldn't give a prediction. I done my preview and I was like, I can't give one. I genuinely have no idea. Like you'd think on paper, Chelsea should be beating Leeds United.
Yeah.
Right, that's on paper, but with the game on Sunday still so fresh, no one's recovered from it. The wound is still exposed. And then playing Leeds, of all teams, who are playing really well. You know, it's 5,000 Leeds fans in the shed end. I worry for us mentally. I worry that we're just not going to have our heads in the game. If we had our heads in the game properly, I'd say, yeah, no, we should be getting a win. We should be getting a win. I'm not confident that we're going to have our heads in the game.
And another thing is what's the fans' reaction going to be directly after what we had to experience at Wembley?
It's pressure. It's pressure, man. It's pressure. That's the thing. Listen, we'll say it for what it is. If we get knocked out today, the season's done. Yeah, it's officially finished. It's over. The whole season is finished. And things will explode. At that point, things will explode.
It's over. And, you know, Pochettino can't afford to get this one wrong. If he does, I don't know. As much as I want him gone, and the majority of our fan base want him gone, from what I understand anyway, I still don't see us sacking him. I still don't see us sacking him immediately. And, you know, maybe rightly or wrongly so, because if we do get rid of him, there's the argument of, well, who do we bring in at this stage of the season with this mentality of the squad? Who is going to risk their reputation coming into this? And I would
Big Sam will come in.
Big Sam, yeah, with his interesting quotes about how he'd run from Dubai or something crazy like that to manage Chelsea. But why wouldn't he? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't Big Sam? Well, stay away from my club, Sam. You get me? I don't want you. But that brings us onto our next topic. Neither of us have given a prediction. I haven't forgotten, but you know, for the sake of it, I'm just going to be positive. Just give me some happiness in my life. I'm going to say 2-1 Chelsea. I've got no conviction in saying what I'm saying. This is just one of those ones where I'm putting it out there and I'm just hoping for it to happen. You know what I mean? So give me a 2-1 Chelsea. That's it. But let's move on to the next subject, a hot topic, obviously, Mauricio Pochettino, his future, a lot of his quotes and the things that he said. Oh, boy. But it's not just about Pochettino. Now, before we start this conversation, I do want to say that Pochettino, as big as a problem that he is on the footballing side, he, to me, is the smallest part of the equation. So I think we're going to start with what are the bigger parts of the equation. Now, I think between the two of us, we can agree that getting these owners out of the club is going to be near impossible. But what we can do as fans is try and force them to listen to what the fans have to say and how we feel and our concerns. And I think the best thing that they can do, if they are not going to willingly get rid of this club and give it to somebody competent, is to go for that recruitment team. I cannot stress enough, and I've stressed so many times before, that before Pochettino or any manager comes into the club, the key that needs to be replaced and out of this club are Lawrence Stewart and Paul Winstanley. They have to leave this club. A lot of people say, well, what about Joe Shields? Now, Joe Shields, I would say, I don't think he's a terrible youth recruiter, but the thing is every football club needs a recruiter that can find youth. So with him, I think the situation is different. But the other two, they must go, because those guys are really the driving force in terms of the recruitment for the first team, something that they have done horrifically. And I'm talking in terms of recruiting players, and I'm talking in terms of recruiting managers. They have shown time and time again that they should not be trusted with another decision. This is why I want to start with them. I don't want to overstress it with Pochettino because we know that he needs to go. But I do still feel that amongst our fan base, from what I'm seeing on the social media, is that these two guys are definitely overlooked. So my first question, Younes, since we are talking about hiring a new manager towards the end of the season, is should these two guys be in place to make that decision to bring in another manager?
You've nailed it on the head. No. This is how we're going to end up going in circles. So we're going to end up turning in circles because the same people that were there to appoint Graham Potter, to sack Graham Potter, to get Lampard in as an interim, to say see you later to him, to get Pochettino, to sack Poch, are going to be the ones to get the next one in. I'm sorry, but we're going, like I've said, in circles. It's no surprise at the same time that this is what we're ending up with because, like I said, all the decisions are data-driven. Yep. And if all the decisions are data-driven And Winstanley and Stewart are looking and basing all the decision on data as well, because at the end of the day, that's the club strategy. So they're incompetent in terms of what they can do at the highest level, but at the same time, they are following the strategy of the club.
Yep.
This is why it does start at the top. It's going to be mad to say to the owners sell, because they can't unless if they were willing to leave with zero.
With nothing, yeah.
Like whatever they put in, they take out, goodbye. So they've made nothing, which they're not going to do. That's the only way they can actually get out. But if that was the case, and we now know it's going to be mad for them to sell or for them to leave, I think we should still divert attention to them, because they are the driving force. They're the ones setting the strategy. They're the ones that are putting the blueprint out on the table.
Agreed.
For Winstanley and Stewart to make happen, basically.
Agree.
And their lack of expertise means that they can't do it at the highest level. So regardless, I think we should still aim for upstairs, because at the end of the day, even say we got rid of Winstanley and Stewart, which would be great, I still think that the owners would find the next couple of clowns to come in and do exactly what those two were doing.
Yep.
This is where it's getting really, really touchy. So I agree with the fact that, look, it needs to be nailed home to the owners that you need to get a world-class sporting director in.
Yep.
And then not just collaborate. Don't even like that word now because of them. But collaboration is a good thing, but not in this instance. Like when you're doing it in the way that they're doing it, it's ridiculous. But you allow someone that's world-class, who's been in the game, who understands it, to get the recommendations that he knows of managers that can come to the club and allow us to operate at the highest level, or at least bring us back to the highest level. If we're not doing that, we're going around in circles. It's as simple as that.
You're absolutely right. Us as fans, we have to nail it home to the owners, because you're right. You know, something that I did overlook before, you know, you spoke, was it's them that implement the philosophy of the club and how it should be run. And they need to know that whatever it is, this philosophy that they're pushing with, and they don't look like they're going to divert from it whatsoever. It needs to stop. It needs to stop, because it's not going to work. It's never worked in the history of football. And why is it going to work now? And then on top of that, and this is why I'm still going to bring it back to these recruiters. And this is not necessarily the fault of the recruiters. But if you look at their history within football, they have never contributed to a team or built a team that's gone on and been successful. They've never even been at a club where that has been their expectation. This is the first time in their career that they're going in to a club where the expectation from the fans is to be winning, or at very bare minimum competing on all fronts every single season. When you're consistently recruiting from a mid-team model, Brighton, what do you expect to get? Because it's not even just those two we've recruited. We've recruited a countless amount of personnel from Brighton. If you're going to recruit from mid-table, you're going to get mid-table results. Yeah? I'll give you prime examples of teams that have been successful in terms of recruiting from other clubs. We'll start off with Chelsea. Roman Abramovich, he came to the club. One of the best signing that he made at Chelsea Football Club in his entire career, in my opinion, was going up to Manchester and getting Peter Kenyon. Somebody who has been there, done it, contributed to untold success to a club, and has the clout and pull to go to players, to go to leaders, and sell them a club and bring them into a club. That's what Roman Abramovich did. He done that, started a dynasty. I'll give you an example of certain players. Ian Robben, relatively unknown to the world when we signed him, or when he came to the Premier League. He was supposed to go to Manchester United for 13 million. Peter Kenyon knew he was going to Chelsea, so he went over to PSV. It was all agreed that they were going to sign him for 13 million. Peter Kenyon went and undercut that and said, you know what, we're going to offer you 7 or 8 million, something ridiculous like that. Obviously, PSV, they said, PSV, they said, we have a deal. We're not signing that. Kenyon goes to Chelsea. the rest is history. John Obi Mikel, you know the situation with that. Michael Essien, very similar to the Ian Robbins situation. Manchester United had already gone to Lyon and agreed a deal, but Peter Kenyon, do you know what I mean? He purposely did that and he brought them to the club. And his reasons for doing it is like, I wanted to bring leaders and the highest quality available to Chelsea Football Club because the owner has sent me the message that he has come here to win. That's Chelsea. Yep. Let's look at Manchester City. When Manchester City's owners came, we knew from the get-go, regardless of how many managers that they had before him, Pep Guardiola was always the one that they were going to go for. Not only did they sign Pep Guardiola, they spoke to Pep Guardiola and they said, listen, we want you, whatever you want paid, we're going to give it to you. And whoever you want to bring with you to make this successful, you're going to bring them with you. And what did they do? They bought Tixi from Barcelona to help with the recruitment. They know that those two have a very good relationship. And the owners, the most important thing is, the owners, they said, you know what? Our job is done here. You lot are running Manchester City. I just expect the trophies to be coming our way. And that's exactly what happened. So collaboration is not always a good thing. And Manchester City have shown that. The only collaboration that they have with the owners is, we need this much money, this is how much we're going to spend. All right, cool, done. That's the player that you want, that's the player that you're going to get. Similar situation with the Peter Kenyon and Roman Abramovich situation. That's the player that you want, that's the player we're going to get. Do you know why that was the philosophy, Younes? Because these guys have been there, they've done it before, and they've got trophies behind them to show their history of success. Exactly. How do we expect it to be any different at Chelsea Football Club with these recruiters and with these owners?
Anywhere, for that matter. You've made a good point there. That should be the collaboration. The collaboration should always be the owners are going to get a proper director, a proper manager, and allow them to get on with it, whilst we'll keep an eye. And at the same time, you get us trophies, we'll go and off and sort out the finances of the club. You get on with the football. That's the collaboration. Exactly. That's how it should be. Exactly. Not the owners getting involved and going, all right, listen, dictating every single little decision and every single thing. Egbali, it came out yesterday, we know, is running Strasbourg. Like,
do you know
running
their fans are on right now?
Their fans have, their ultras have kicked off. But their entire transfer policy is based on Egbali now. There's not even someone in place. Like we've got Winstanley and Stewart, even, which they've had to do because we're a Premier League club. We're a top-end Premier League club, or we were at least. Like, there has to be a flipping structure. But you're absolutely right. And I'll give you another example. Look at Liverpool today. Just today, right? They've gone back to Michael Edwards, trying to get him out of his sabbatical. But not just that. It came out that not only are they trying to get Michael Edwards to come out of sabbatical, but they're not waiting any longer until after March, because by March, if he's not made a decision, they're going to move on. And why? Because they want to get a proper director in first before they get the new manager.
The correct move to make. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how a proper club is run. We're just doing things backwards, and
we're doing things backwards.
It just feels like we're doing things off the whim, off the fly. But, now that we've touched on that, let's move on to the potential managerial candidates that could be taken over from Pochettino that we've heard from a few sources. 4 of them. 2 of them, I am so against coming to Chelsea Football Club. And even the other 2, I still have my questions. So those 4 managers are Ruben Amorim from Sporting, Robert De Zerbi from Brighton, Simeone Inzaghi from Inter Milan, and Thomas flipping Frank.
The Inzaghi one was fresh, but I don't know if that's actually, is that Italian media or, because I heard Munoz of Girona is linked.
Him as well. Let's throw him in the mix.
Let's throw in 5. Let's talk about 5 then, yeah.
So
what a shambolic list.
It is a shambolic list, but at least with 2 of those, obviously one is we take massively with a pinch of salt, as you've just informed me in terms of Inzaghi. at least two of them have had some kind of success. Amorim has had some success in the Portuguese league. You know, some might say, well, it's the Portuguese league. You know what I mean? Inzaghi, I believe, has had some success in Serie A. And with Serie A, you know, we've had managers come directly from Serie A and do well at Chelsea. Antonio Conte being the most fresh in memory.
Yeah.
But then
Sorry.
and you know, Maurizio Sarri as well.
That didn't go well.
Did Ancelotti come straight from Italy as well?
Ancelotti came from. You're
memory's
right. I think he might have come from AC, didn't he?
There you go. So if that's the case, then you know that's three managers from Serie A that have won some kind of silverware. But the other two are a massive red flag for me. De Zerbi, I've seen our fan base. There's, you know, it's a bit divided. Some would take De Zerbi. They love the football he's played, and there's arguments that there's players that he's managed before and got decent out of them. One of them being Mikhailo Mudryk, and then there's Thomas Frank. For me, Younes, I'm not gonna lie to you. De Zerbi and Thomas Frank, absolutely not. And the reason why I say this is because I am done with experiments or the flavor of the month, hipster's choice, the next up-and-coming best. I want somebody who has got something behind them on their CV, some kind of success. We've been traumatized already with Graham Potter. We're currently going through trauma with Mauricio Pochettino, although some will say, well, he's won with PSG. That's another story. But for me...
We'd win with PSG.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of managerial decisions, now remember, Younes, the managerial market is not necessarily filled with, you know, winning managers at the moment. But in terms of those guys, how does it make you feel to see that that's who we could potentially be linked with? And which one would you actually take out of that list?
I'm not surprised because we are basing it all on the data.
Wow.
That's it. This is why we end up with lists like this, and we're about to do the same mistake like we've done for the last two managerial appointments. We're going to do it again. Best believe, I've said this before, and I honestly still think, I think we're going to try and go and get De Zerbi. I just can't see anything else. We are obsessed with Brighton that I wouldn't be shocked. We already know De Zerbi's leaving at the end of the season. I'll be shocked if we somehow don't get him. But all the names that you've mentioned, I agree. It's shocking. It's not good enough at all. I put an asterisk on Amorim. Right. Because I agree with you in the essence of, I'm sorry, I'm going to need a CV. Yeah. We're in a situation where we can't experiment any longer. You're right. You're completely right. We can't keep guessing. Like, there has to be a level of certainty. I need to know that a manager's come in and I go, I have faith in this guy, right? Completely. Like, I believe he's got what it takes to be able to bring us out of this situation. Like, there needs to be a faith. It's not just a guess or I hope. Like, no, there needs to be a certainty of, I'm pretty sure he will. If Amorim, I've put the condition on because he's won the Portuguese league and he's got to the final of the Europa League before. Recently, right?
Yeah.
The condition is if he wins the Portuguese league this year with Sporting and he wins the Europa League with Sporting too,
it's different conversation. Yeah.
You're definitely a candidate at that point. Based on the market and who's actually out there. I would take him seriously. But that's because we need certainty. I'm going to need someone who knows something about winning. We can't just keep guessing and going around in circles. So Amorim is conditional. But the others, get out. I mean, look, how we're linked with Munoz, for example, of Girona. Don't get me wrong. Girona this season, no one expected it. Ridiculous, right? But how is he experiencing what the top of La Liga feels like for 6 months and now he's linked with the Chelsea job? What are we doing? You know? It's incredible. It's incredible.
To be fair with Munoz, he actually did promote Girona from the Spanish second division. But listen, as well as he's done, right? Again, I have to agree with you. I'm more leaning towards a manager with with some success behind them. Which brings me on to Inzaghi. Inzaghi has won cups with Lazio, Coppa Italia, Super Coppa Italia, so that's 3 with Lazio. With Inter Milan, he's won 2 Coppa Italias, 3 Super Coppa Italias, and he
loves those cups, doesn't he?
I know, and he was a runner-up in the Champions League, obviously. Last season's final losing to Manchester City. So there is some silverware behind him, but again, I'm still not overly convinced. Now, out of those choices, for me, if I had to choose, based on what I've said, Inzaghi would be top of the list, and then Amorim, and then if I had to choose between the other 3, I'd probably go with Munoz, and the other 2 I just don't want to see at Chelsea Football Club.
Mate, how are we linked with Thomas Frank? Oh, come on, man. With all due respect to Thomas Frank, because considering the level of Brentford, I think that's exactly where he should stay.
Exactly.
We might as well go and get Roy Hodgson.
Have we not learned certain managers do well at lower clubs because that's their level?
And managers that operate at the highest level sometimes go to the lower level and can't do it there. It's a two-way street.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? There's managers that are born for the top or get to the top level and are there, and that's it. They've built their expertise in that environment, and given something little less, like they can't do it. Well, not can't do it, but the support's just not there. Whereas the managers, I'll get another example. I honestly believe Graham Potter is that.
I do as well, 100%.
I don't think Graham Potter can operate at the highest level, but you give him a mid-table sort of level, I think he'll do a decent job, stellar job.
Now, this brings what you've just said there is very interesting, because I believe, managers that are used to operating at the highest level, not doing well at, lower levels, there's a correlation with that. And that's the quality of players that are available to them.
Exactly. Yeah.
This brings me on to this squad as our last topic before we come to an end.
Yeah.
I've said many times, I do not think this squad, not just the first 11, but the entire squad, is not good enough to be competing at the level we need to compete to. In fact, Younes, I'll go as far as to say there's only 5 players that I would keep, maybe 6, and there's still conditions to some of those players.
Oh, you reckon? Sorry, you're saying that the squad isn't good enough?
I think that's also part of the
mix.
mix.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I thought you meant the opposite, because you said not isn't, and I was like,
no,
what? So it is? Okay, fair.
No. It's definitely not good enough. There's 5, possibly 6 players that I would keep in this squad that I think...
I agree with you.
Now, I'll go through the names of those players because it's easier to name the ones that I would keep than I'd get rid of. Reece James, I would keep. Malo Gusto, I would keep.
Yeah.
Petrovic, I would keep as a backup goalkeeper. Caicedo, I believe there's a player in there I'd keep. Enzo, I would keep, but the ice is very thin with Enzo for me right now. I'm not going to lie to you. Cole Palmer, I would keep. That's 6 players. In Nkunku, I would still keep. Lavia, the only reason why I'm saying Lavia is because he's been missing all season and he deserves to show what he's got, because he could still come into the club, into the lineup and do very well. So actually, that's 8 players. The rest of them, I couldn't give a toss if you got rid of them. I don't know whether you agree with me, but that to me screams, whatever manager that comes in is not going to get anywhere near to where we need to be with this crop of players.
And that was said... who put it out? But apparently there was one associate of a manager that will most likely be linked with the job if it became available. Yeah, who said that there's no manager that can deal with the squad. There's no manager that can deal with the squad. Not even Pep. Like, no one can deal with this. I
agree. And I've said this before. I don't think Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, whoever you decide to bring, I think there's an absolute ceiling for this club, for these crop of players. Granted, some people will say, well, listen, they're all young players. It's their first season playing together, whatever. Listen, right? I have seen young players, younger than a lot of these players, go to different clubs, and still be able to rip it up? If that's the case, how has Cole Palmer come into the club and done so well? That's number one. You just know, regardless of age, you just know the trajectory a player is going to be going in 9 times out of 10. And another thing that people need to realise is that there is no guarantees in any footballer's development. There's not. There's not a linear trajectory that goes like this for every single player. If that was the case, then majority of players would be world class or close to, that level. But it's not. Some players go like this, some players go like this, and a lot of players, unfortunately, go down like that, which is why youth academies, they say that only like 3 or 4% of the players will actually play and make it at the top level. There's a reason for that. So why are we putting all of our eggs to rely on this crop of players when they've shown us time and time again that a lot of them are not of the level required?
And to try and bring them up to the level required, they're going to need players around them to show them the example.
Exactly.
I used this recently. Do you think Real Madrid are stupid to offer Toni Kroos a 1-year deal? Why are they doing that? Why they kept Modric as long as they have?
Right.
Why? They could have easily, you know what? This past season, maybe the season before, they could have easily let go of those players. They got Tchouaméni and Camavinga and Valverde and all these guys.
Yeah.
Bellingham coming for... Mate, they're all right. But why? Why are they offering Toni Kroos an extra year extension? Because it's going to be players like we've seen with Bellingham and the way that he's killing it. Those players that are now playing at the level they're playing at wouldn't be at this level if it wasn't for the players that they were looking up to in the first instance when they got to this team.
And those players...
And with Chelsea, with Chelsea, that doesn't exist. So this is why I've said, look, the way that Chelsea will be heading right now, if we don't actually get some proper quality and experience into this squad, is you're going to get a bunch of Theo Walcotts.
Facts.
Like we're going to have an entire squad of Theo Walcotts.
And
where
we may be lucky to get 1 or 2 players that do get to the level that we need to be playing at. I know. I certainly believe in Reece James. Do you know what I mean? Because he's shown it. He's won stuff, and ironically, he was in a squad that was full of winners as well at one point in his career, and so was Cole Palmer.
You've made a very, very good example about Reece James there. How did Reece James get to the level that he's at the moment?
Yeah, that's Peliqueta in front of him.
Thank you very much.
Like Branislav Ivanovic while he was at the
Thank you very much.
So there's no coincidence there. So for any of these managers to be taken over at Chelsea Football Club, it's futile, in my opinion, until that philosophy changes, until that recruitment team changes, and they are smart enough to realize we're going to have to sign some seniors that have been there and have been competing at all levels so they can pass on their wisdom and they can also do some coaching on the pitch as well.
Yep.
Play alongside these players and teach them what needs to be done because they've been in the majority of situations in football that you can face. Going back to the Carabao Cup final, for example, a lot of these players were in a situation that they've never been in.
Exactly.
Who did they have to look to compose the team? Thiago Silva wasn't there. Now imagine if we had decided to go for the Benzema loan. If we had decided to say, do you know what, Luka Modric, as old as you are, but you need to come here for 6 months and just marshal this midfield. But Thiago Silva, you start this game. Those 3 would have added to our spine. And in every key position, we would have had some kind of experience, some kind of know-how to marshal and to keep those players composed.
This is where I feel like we've done a lot of damage in the long run because, again, all the decisions have been based on data.
Yep.
That's it. We've gutted everything, and it's all been based on data, and they're doubling down, and they're still going down that route. And we still don't want to do like what we've just suggested or try and entertain bringing a couple of seniors in, maybe pay a little bit more on the salaries because we have to, because they're that quality. And no, we don't want to do any of that. The data doesn't say so. That's not what we're going to do. So it's scary times, man. It's scary times.
It's very scary times. And I think really to end this stream, there has to be some kind... I like there to be a solution to chaos or to, you know, concerning times that we're in. And the only solution, people, is going to come from people like myself, people like Younes, people like you who are watching, people that go to Stamford Bridge, go to Chelsea away games week in, week out. We are the voice of this club, not them. We should be dictating the direction that they go, because without us, they're nothing. We need to get this message through to the owners. And we need to let them know that things need to change, and things need to change fast, or there has to be some kind of consequences. We have reached a point where I think protests need to be held, where I think that, you know, fans should be walking out after a certain amount of minutes, where I think boycotts should be held against the club shops and putting more money in their pockets. That's the only way these businessmen are going to listen, because that's exactly what they are. These guys are not people who have love for the club. We've seen owners that do have that. We had the best one in the world in Roman Abramovich. We need to hit them where it hurts, because where it hurt Roman Abramovich wasn't the money. He didn't care about the money. The amount of loss that he made from Chelsea Football Club is crazy. What hurt him the most was when we lost games. This man was texting Carlo Ancelotti question marks after he lost games. This is a man that won the double. Sacked him in the tunnel after he won the FA Cup.
Yeah, that was mad. Yeah.
After doing the double.
Yeah.
We don't have that. So we need to let the owners know that your outlook on football and Chelsea Football Club needs to change. And if you do not change the situation, we're going to hit you where it hurts.
I'd argue that it's at that point.
Oh yeah, we are, definitely.
Because it's we've already seen, like, they're doubling down. They're not budging. The fact Poch is still here. Winstanley is still here. He's really tight with Egbali, right? He's his man. And we've seen the shortlists. Yeah, we're not budging. So that means they're not listening. Well, if you're not listening, all right. And I agree. It's going to come down specifically to the match-going fans. It's the match-going fans that are going to hold the power here. And then it's the online perception that's going to be treated as a backup to that.
Yep.
It's the reaction online that will support what's going on with the match-going lot, because action is action at the end of the day. And if you have that supported by bad publicity online, then that's only going to leverage it, of course. And not saying bad publicity for the sake of creating chaos. That's not the aim. But the aim is to try and make sure that, listen, this is our club is at stake here. And you're treating it like, not even like a toy. Because with a toy, you're playing a game, you still want to win. Like, you're just treating it like some sort of
investment. It's interesting you said toys. Do you know what they are? Have you seen Toy Story? Of course you have. Every kid watched Toy Story. Do you remember Sid?
Yeah.
Sid, how we used to treat his toys and how we just used to... That's what they are. They are Sid.
Exactly.
From Toy Story.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing to Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah.
And Chelsea fans, I'll also say this. Don't underestimate the power of your voice, because I'm going to make a reminder of one thing. One massive 100%. Reminder. When the Super League was looking to be started, who was the fan base that put their foot down first and started the domino effects to the other clubs? Us. Chelsea Football Club. And if you think the ownership don't know that, and they don't have it in the back of their mind, that we have the capacity to turn on them to a point where they're going to have to listen, think again, because we can.
Yep.
So, Younes, let's end it there. I really appreciate you jumping on the stream. Once again, it feels great to be able to stream again, and it feels good to have a conversation with you once again. What do you have on your channel that you've already got up, or what do you have coming up that you would like the people to see?
So obviously there's going to be the watch along later for Chelsea versus Leeds. We'll go through it. And on top of that, there's the reaction, the review after the game. And then it's going to be whatever's kicking on and whatever's happening. And I'll give my thoughts, not just on Chelsea, but elsewhere as well. But we'll see what's happening, and I'll be dropping all my thoughts. on Younes Talks Football.
So definitely, tune into Younes. His links, as always, will be down there in the description of this video. As for me, I don't think I'll be able to, well, I definitely won't be able to do a post-match review because while this game's going to be played, I'll still be at work. So if anything, I'll probably give my views tomorrow, roughly about the same time that this video is going to go up because I do also have to work tomorrow as well. But I'll do my best, people. I am trying to, upload a lot more videos. I've seen a lot of your messages. I've responded to messages while I haven't been uploading. So, yeah, man, it does feel great to be back. Before we go, man, make sure you do these things for me. Smash that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Also, leave your thoughts down there in the comments. Let us know what you agree with in the video, what you don't agree with in the video, and just give us your overall thoughts. And also, as well, something I always forget to do, I've left my social media links in this video, as you can see at the bottom. Man Knows Football for Instagram, and unfortunately I didn't have enough characters to do Man Knows Football for Twitter, so it's Man Know Football on Twitter. So make sure you give those two a follow. I do tweet, I do give my thoughts, so if you do want to see some thoughts away from YouTube, definitely follow the Twitter 100%. And the Instagram really is to just let you know when videos will be going up. So until next time, Younes, thank you very much once again for joining in, and I'll definitely be tuning into your videos. I will be watching the Leeds game as well, so after that I'll be going straight to your video. Hopefully I don't get caught by the bosses at work, but still, these are the risks that we take for Chelsea Football Club. Do you know what I mean? So I'll definitely be tuning in. You guys make sure you do the same. And one more thing before I leave, Gareth Southgate out. Peace.